So what are the pros and cons of the Flare network? It's really important we understand the good and the bad in these assets because over 1 million new crypto tokens have been launched since April. So there's a whole lot of junk out there, right? A whole lot you have to cipher through, you have to filter for to find the right one. The days of there being a handful of meme tokens on Ethereum that in alt season they all just pump 100x are over because there's such a massive supply of crypto junk out there now. Over 1 million new crypto tokens have been launched. So just like in the early days of the internet, we had companies like Cisco Systems launch. In 2000, Cisco Systems skyrocketed, hit $78, crashed down to 10. What has it done since the early days of the internet? It's 4x, right? So over 20 years, it's 4x. Whereas Amazon, over its short lifetime of 20 years, has 300x, right? So that's why we don't play games with low quality assets because that is how much money you can lose if you make the wrong bet. You could 4x your returns, if not lose your returns, if you buy a mediocre, low quality asset, or you could get life-changing returns. The whole purpose of this channel is to dive into what is going on in early stage financial markets and potentially get that life-changing return. So we need the next Amazon. What is the next Amazon? Well, it better have massive adoption and be extremely valuable, important software. That's how we get that life-changing return over time, not by buying mediocre assets. So with that said, let's dive into Flare Network specifically, right? So currently the market cap, fully diluted market cap is $1.6 billion. So it doesn't matter if the price of each token is low and you're able to accumulate a bunch of tokens. What matters is the cost of the entire network. That is what billionaires look at. How much would it cost for a billionaire like Jeff Bezos to come in and buy the Flare network? It would cost $1.6 billion. So that is the real price of the network. It is not the 1.6 cents. Right? So why should someone like Jeff Bezos come in and buy this for almost $2 billion, especially when there are assets like FLR that has a fully diluted market cap of a third of that, right? $650 million. A billionaire might choose FLR, but we don't know yet because we have to dive through the pros and the cons of this asset. So what are the pros? Well, this is a pretty big pro. Flare, leading blockchain for data, secures round from early backers, reducing liquidity, increasing investment to ecosystem. So Flare's earliest investors, including Hong Kong and US-based Kinetic, New York-based Aves Lair, and others, have doubled down on the leading blockchain for data by extending token vesting, limiting token sales, and committing significant new capital to investing across the Flare ecosystem. That is a very good sign. So the venture capital firms that funded Flare, they see a vision for it and they want to invest new capital and not dump their tokens on the market so soon. We wholeheartedly believe in Flare's vision for securing data in the age of Web3 and the potential for F assets to empower non-smart contract tokens. With this restructuring and agreement to heavily invest in Flare's economic and financial infrastructure growth, we are confident that our early investment will grow exponentially beyond our initial expectations. So this is the equivalent of insiders buying their own stock because they believe in it. That is pretty massive for this ecosystem. The current market valuation of this investment into Flare's ecosystem would be worth $35 million to Flare ecosystem projects. So that is a plus, but it's also not that much money. Like Ripple, for instance, has billions of dollars to invest. Flare, $35 million to invest. And what we've seen in crypto is that this money gets burned through quickly, right? But that is a good sign. We see the early investors kind of giving back some of their proceeds to reinvest in the ecosystem. Now, yes, they have to sell those tokens on the market in order to raise capital, which causes short-term selling pressure. But that's where we are. Again, $35 million doesn't blow me away. Now, here's another pro. Flare Network burns over 66 million tokens. Flare Network intends to burn a total of 2.1 billion Flare tokens belonging to early investors to reduce the dilution of community holdings. So Positive tokenomics, if they truly are deflationary, that causes each Flare token to be scarcer and scarcer over time. Now, it's difficult to trust these assets sometimes because they'll promise deflationary tokenomics, they'll promise big burns. But if no one's using the ecosystem, it doesn't really matter. But that is a pro, right? We're not going to get into the cons yet. Flare Network achieves milestone with over 1 billion Flare tokens burned, right? So they have a total supply of 100 billion tokens. So they've burned so far 1% of their total supply. Again, a lot of this could be kind of visual smoke and mirrors to attract more capital. Maybe the early investors didn't get a good return, so they want to put out an article like that to make it seem like they are still bullish on the space just so they can get a bigger return and sell the tokens in the future, right? We don't really know yet. You can't really be trusting of these assets. Now, it is easy to be trusting of an asset like Chainlink or ICP with the United Nations building on it. Assets like this can't be that trusting. Again, smoke and mirrors. Maybe they're burning the supply, but maybe they're about to dump 60 billion tokens on the market. So got to think about all this. These are the active validators per day. This is another pro, right? There is a decent community. The Flare network did solid marketing early on to build a community because they now have over 5,000 active validators per day, right? That is very positive. Crypto is all about network effects. This is actually a growing uptrend. So the bigger the network, the more valuable the asset. And then Flare unveils major network milestone. Blockchain protocol Flare network has announced its major network milestone with 482,000 addresses recorded on chain. So the ecosystem is decent, but again, we have to be super critical. And the reason we have to be critical is because to buy Flare, you have to take capital away from other high quality assets. So it's a big deal. It's like there's massive opportunity costs with buying these mediocre assets when you could be buying something that's going to change the world, like Chainlink or potentially ICP, again, with the United Nations building on it, or Polkadot or BitTensor. There's so many other assets that we have to dive into. The render networks. If you watch my videos on the render network, Solana, Ethereum, ICP, Chainlink, you'll realize those are in the A plus tier. The jury's still out on Flare network, but I haven't seen enough to justify Jeff Bezos spending $1.6 billion to buy the network. But so far, those are the pros. Solid community growth, distribution across thousands of addresses, more and more staking taking place. But again, you're asking a $1.6 billion price target. So those are the pros. Let's dive into the cons. Now, when researching the Flare network, I watched the promotional videos. This network paid people on YouTube to pump up the asset. That is what happens in crypto. So I watched some of the videos, and the best sales pitches these videos could give me was the technology that is being promised, right? EVM compatible. So Flare is fully compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine. Unfortunately, that doesn't set it apart. There are tens of thousands of projects that are fully compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine. They have the F asset system. So Flare's unique F asset system enables the tokenization of non-smart contract assets like XRP, BTC, and Litecoin, allowing these assets to participate in DeFi. Again, nothing world-changing there. It brings additional liquidity and new use cases to the interoperable ecosystem. So yes, Flare is an interoperable asset. Thousands of assets that claim interoperability. Again, not impressed yet. Oracle services. Flare's decentralized Oracle system provides reliable, decentralized data feeds to smart contracts. Again, Chainlink is an Oracle. Pyth is an Oracle on Solana. So far, this technology is not breakthrough by any means. It almost seems like copies of old technology. Nothing breakthrough. DeFi advantages. Low transaction cost. How many times have we heard that from other projects? Scalability. How many times have we heard that from other projects? Incentive programs. How many times have we heard that from other projects? Yes, there's a big staking program. Yes, there are incentives. Interoperability for DeFi. Again, FLR is an interoperable asset. It is the third the price of Flare. There are other massive interoperable assets. Earning potential with Flare. Yes, you can get staking rewards. Nothing breakthrough. That's the point. In watching and researching this asset, They promise a whole lot of technology, but every single crypto asset promises technology. What sets Flare apart? I haven't seen a single thing. Yes, they have Flare AI initiatives, right? Consensus learning. Flare is pioneering a new approach called consensus learning, which integrates blockchain and AI to create more accurate and robust AI models. Again, if you're in this space, you know many, many, many projects have promised this. Now, what's good about Flare is it can catch a narrative. For instance, in the wild bull markets we've seen in the past, even in 2024, anything with AI in its name humped, right? Like Flare. Flare went from under a penny to 5 cents. It's obviously given all that back. Can it catch a narrative? It can. If it has AI in the name, it can catch the narrative. Again, of these 1 million new crypto tokens that have been launched since April, how many of them have AI in the name? It's going to be more and more difficult to get noticed in this space with just the AI narrative. Now, the bottom line is with all this technology, all this narrative, because projects will talk about their technology all day, right? Talk is cheap. What is not cheap is community, is adoption. How do we know Chainlink is good software? Because BlackRock is using it to tokenize assets on Ethereum. How do we know Flare is good technology? Unfortunately, we don't, because every single project will promise technology like this. They point to a partnership with Google Cloud, right? Google Cloud joins Flare Network as validator. Flare jumps 5%. Why is that not a big deal, unfortunately? So what Google Cloud is doing is accepting tokens from projects and saying, we will support you with our data centers, right? What they want to do is take away market share from the render networks of the world, the decentralized computer networks, and they want to bring big tech into blockchain, right? So that is what they're doing. Why is this not a huge deal? Unfortunately, because they're not just doing this with Flare. Google Cloud adds Casper Labs to growing portfolio of Web3 partnerships. Google Cloud broadens Web3 slate by joining Tezos's bankers. Near protocol partners with Google Cloud to support Web3 developers. So all these different assets, Google Cloud has partnered up with. Again, I haven't seen a single thing that sets Flare apart from anything else, right? That is just the truth. That is the big con of this asset. Decent community, good signs from the early investors, but why haven't we seen the massive adoption that we have seen in some of these other less expensive assets? For instance, Flare will point to its tie with Ripple, but why did Ripple and the Axelar Foundation partner to enhance XRP Ledger's interoperability across blockchains? Axelar is connected to 55 plus connected blockchains. How big is the interoperable network of Flare? Why am I not seeing big adoption of this asset? JP Morgan and Apollo deliver Project Guardian with help from Axelar and others, seeing way more adoption with Axelar. You're also seeing staking with Axelar. You're seeing just about everything that Flare is doing, but with the actual adoption, and Axelar is 3 times cheaper than Flare. So at the end of the day, do the pros outweigh the cons or not, right? We've seen people sit on assets that were hyped up by all the online marketing before, and nothing comes of it, right? So if you can point me to something that sets Flare apart enough to justify someone like Jeff Bezos spending over $1 billion on it, instead of buying something like Chainlink or the Internet Computer or Axelar, then let me know. But so far, those are the cons, those are the pros. You guys can make your own decision. If you want me to cover any other assets, just let me know.